Imagine paying hundreds of dollars for dinner. The waiter walks over, sets your plate down, and your food is still alive. Most people would call the health inspector. Some people call it a delicacy. Now imagine eating a fruit. That tastes completely normal, unless you picked it a few hours too early. Then it might kill you, or a bowl of soup. So expensive and so controversial that millions of sharks died just to make it. These foods are real. People still eat them. Some are banned, some are heavily restricted, and some survive only because people keep making them in secret. But here's the strange part. None of them were created to be dangerous. Every single one started as someone's idea of a really good meal. So, how did they become some of the most controversial foods on Earth? Let's start with the cheese that literally fights back. Cheese is already a weird invention. Think about it. Take milk, add bacteria. Wait, congratulations. You made food. Humanity looked at spoiled milk and somehow decided, yeah, let's keep doing that. But apparently regular cheese wasn't weird enough because on the Italian island of Sardinia, someone asked a dangerous question. What if flies helped? Not metaphorically, actual flies. Cheesemakers leave a wheel of pecorino exposed, and before long, tiny cheese flies arrive. They lay hundreds of eggs. A few days later, those eggs hatch. Now your cheese has roommates. Tiny white larvae begin eating their way through the cheese. Sounds disgusting, except that's exactly what the cheesemaker wanted. As the larvae eat, they break down the cheese from the inside. It becomes softer, creamier, stronger. According to people who love cashew marzu, this is when the cheese is finally perfect. There's just one small detail. The maggots are still alive, not beside the cheese, inside the cheese, sometimes jumping out of it. Locals have been known to cover their eyes while eating, not because they're scared, but because the larvae can launch themselves several inches into the air. Imagine your dinner, trying to escape. Now you might think, just remove the maggots. That's like ordering a pizza and asking them to hold the cheese. The maggots are the entire point. In fact, many enthusiasts refuse to eat cashew marzu if the larvae have already died. To them, dead maggots mean old cheese. Alive means fresh. Unfortunately, your digestive system doesn't always appreciate authentic cuisine. Doctors have warned that surviving larvae could potentially irritate the intestines if they make it through the stomach alive. Rare? Yes. Impossible? No, which is one reason food safety authorities banned its commercial sale in much of Europe. Problem solved. Except, not really, because banning something often makes people want it even more. Today, cashew marzu still exists. Quietly, passed between friends, made in small batches, sold through unofficial channels. Turns out, telling people they can't eat maggot cheese doesn't stop them. It just makes the cheese harder to find. And somehow, this isn't the most expensive thing people willingly eat. Because next, we're talking about a soup that changed entire oceans. If someone offered you a $300 bowl of soup, you'd expect something incredible. Maybe Wagyu, maybe lobster, maybe even gold flakes. Because apparently people eat those too. But one of the world's most expensive soups gets almost all of its value from something that barely has any flavor: shark fins. Now that sounds backwards. The meat should be the best part, right? Wrong. The fins are mostly cartilage, the same kind of flexible tissue that's found in your ears, your nose, and your joints. Not exactly something that screams. Five-star cuisine. On their own, they taste like almost nothing. So why did people spend hundreds of dollars to eat them? Simple. Status. Hundreds of years ago, shark fin soup wasn't just dinner. It was a symbol of power. Only emperors, royalty, and the wealthiest families could afford it. Serving shark fin soup told your guests one thing: I have more money than I know what to do with. And that reputation never disappeared. As more people became wealthy, more people wanted shark fin soup. Demand exploded, and that's when things started getting ugly. Fishermen realized they didn't need the entire shark. The fins were the valuable part. Everything else was just taking up space. So they started cutting the fins off. while the shark was still alive. Then they threw it back into the ocean. Without its fins, a shark can't swim. It slowly sank, unable to move, unable to breathe properly, waiting for the ocean to finish the drum, all for an ingredient that doesn't even provide most of the flavor. The broth does that. The fins mostly provide texture. Imagine destroying an entire pizza just because you wanted the crust. Over time, millions of sharks disappeared every year. Some shark populations dropped by more than 90%. Scientists started raising alarms. Conservation groups demanded action. Governments finally stepped in. Today, many countries have banned shark finning. Others have banned the sale of shark fins completely. Even luxury hotels that once proudly served the dish quietly removed it from their menus. Not because people suddenly stopped liking it, but because the environmental cost became impossible to ignore. It's amazing how one luxury meal could change entire ocean ecosystems. But our next food doesn't threaten sharks. It threatens you. At first glance, it looks like an ordinary tropical fruit. Bright, fresh, completely harmless. But eat it at the wrong moment, and your own body starts shutting down. Poisonous foods usually come with a warning. Bright colors, sharp spikes, a smell that tells you, don't eat me. This fruit has none of that. It grows on trees, looks perfectly normal. And in Jamaica, it's everywhere. Families cook it, restaurants serve it. It's even part of the country's national dish. So what's the problem? Timing. Meet ackee. At first, it's completely sealed, like nature wrapped it in a warning label. Then one day, it suddenly bursts open all by itself. And believe it or not, that's when it's finally safe to eat. Most fruits are the opposite. You pick them, then they ripen. Ackee makes you wait. Pick it too early, and you're in trouble. Because hidden inside the fruit is a toxin called hypoglycin A. The name isn't important. What it does is, normally, your body has a backup plan. When you run out of sugar, it starts burning fat for energy. Ackee can shut that system down. Imagine your phone hitting 1% battery and refusing to charge. That's basically what happens to your body. Your blood sugar crashes. You become weak, then nauseous. Then the vomiting starts. Doctors even gave it a name, Jamaican vomiting sickness, which sounds made up. It's not. Severe cases can lead to seizures, comas, even death, all because someone couldn't wait for a fruit to open. The strange part? Once ackee opens naturally, and it's prepared correctly, it's completely safe. Millions of people eat it every year without any problems. To them, it's comfort food, not dangerous food. That's why many countries don't ban ackee completely. Instead, they regulate it. The United States allows processed ackee, but importing fresh fruit is heavily restricted unless it meets strict safety requirements. It's one of the few foods where the difference between dinner and disaster is just a few hours. But if you think poisonous fruit is strange, wait until you hear about our next food, because it isn't made from meat. It wasn't made from plants. It isn't even made from fish. It's made from bird spit. And somehow, people pay hundreds of dollars to eat it. What's the most expensive ingredient you've ever eaten? Maybe saffron, maybe truffles, maybe caviar. Now imagine paying hundreds of dollars for saliva, not human saliva, bird saliva. Sounds fake. It isn't. In parts of Asia, it's considered one of the world's greatest delicacies. It's called bird's nest soup. Now, before you picture a bowl full of twigs, that's not what this is. The nest is the food. And somehow, it's even stranger than that. Most birds build nests using sticks, leaves, grass, whatever they can find. But a tiny bird called the swiftlet builds its home almost entirely from saliva. During breeding season, special glands inside its mouth produce a thick, sticky saliva. The bird flies back and forth, again and again, layer by layer, until an entire nest hangs from the cave wall. No sticks, no leaves, just hardened saliva. Honestly, that's impressive. For the bird, it's home. For humans, it's dinner. Harvesting these nests isn't exactly easy either. They're usually found high inside dark caves. Collectors climb bamboo ladders, rope systems, or nearly vertical cave walls. Just to reach them, one wrong step, and dinner becomes the least of your problems. So why go through all that? Because a single kilogram of edible bird's nests can sell for thousands of dollars. Once collected, the nests are carefully cleaned, soaked in water, and slowly cooked into a soup. Here's the weird part. People don't eat it because it tastes amazing. It barely has any flavor, just like shark fin soup. It's prized for its texture, soft, silky, almost jelly-like. For centuries, many people believed it could improve health, boost energy, and even help people live longer. Modern science hasn't found strong evidence for most of those claims, but that's not what got it into trouble. The problem was disease. These nests come from wild birds, and wild birds can carry viruses. During outbreaks of bird flu, many countries tightened import rules, and some temporarily banned edible birds' nests altogether. Not because bird saliva suddenly became illegal, but because no one wanted to risk importing dangerous diseases. Along with dinner, it's funny, humans looked at a bird building a home and somehow decided, you know what, I'll eat that. But as strange as bird spit sounds, our final food is on an entirely different level. Because this time, people didn't just hide the recipe, they hid while they were eating it. Some even believed God shouldn't have to watch. Every food we've talked about so far had a reason. Some were dangerous, some spread disease, some devastated wildlife. This one is different. It wasn't banned because it could poison you. It was banned because people simply couldn't stop eating it. Meet the Ortolan Bunting. It's just a tiny songbird. Seriously, it fits in the palm of your hand. If you saw one outside, you'd probably think it was just another bird. The French saw dinner. For hundreds of years, ortolan became one of France's most exclusive delicacies, not because there was a lot of meat. There wasn't. The entire bird was the meal. But before anyone could eat it, they had to prepare it. And this is where things get strange. The birds were traditionally kept in complete darkness. No sunlight, no day, no night. Completely dark. Confused, the birds began eating almost nonstop, until they became nearly twice their normal size. Then, they were placed into a container filled with Armagnac brandy. The alcohol flavored the meat, while the bird drowned. It sounds brutal, because it was. Afterward, the bird was roasted, whole, no carving, no removing the bones, no separating the head, nothing. When it reached the table, the diner placed the entire bird into their mouth, head first, bones, beak, feet, everything. Now you'd think, that's the strangest part. It's not. Before taking the first bite, many diners pulled a white napkin over their heads. No one knows for sure. Some historians believe it trapped the aroma. Others say it helped diners focus on the experience. But one explanation refused to die. People claimed the napkin hid them from God's eyes, as if even heaven shouldn't have to witness what was about to happen. Whether that's true or simply a legend, no one can say, but it became part of the mythology surrounding the dish. Eventually, another problem appeared. Too many birds were disappearing. Hunters captured so many ortolans that conservationists began raising alarms. The population kept falling. Governments finally stepped in. Today, hunting and selling ortolan is illegal across much of Europe, not because the recipe was forgotten, because there simply weren't enough birds left. It's amazing how something so small became one of the most controversial meals in history. So what did all of these foods have in common? It wasn't just danger, or disgust, or even the fact that some were banned. They all started the same way. Someone, somewhere, looked at an unusual ingredient and thought, this could be delicious. Sometimes they were right. Sometimes they accidentally created a public health nightmare. Other times, they pushed entire species toward collapse. Food has always been more than survival. It's culture, it's history, it's identity. And once a tradition survives for hundreds of years, it's incredibly difficult to erase, even when the rest of the world thinks it's unbelievable. So the next time someone tells you your favorite food is weird, just remember, At least it probably isn't alive, trying to escape your plate, or making you hide from God while you eat it. If you enjoyed this video and want to discover more unbelievable stories where food, science, and history collide, make sure to subscribe to the Food Anatomix. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.